you so much for being here. Like Julia just mentioned, this will be recorded, and we're very excited for today's topic. Before I get into it, my name is Elena Capasso. I am with the Rhode Island Small Business Development Center, and I'm the training coordinator there. My goal is to deliver the best training for you all as small businesses. I know the ins and outs of how difficult things can be and how it's a constant change and learning experience. So I would love to be able to help you as much as I can with these topics, which is why I greatly appreciate these poll answers. Thank you so much. And today, our topic is extremely valuable. And I think a lot of our clients ask these questions of how much you should be spending on Facebook and Instagram ads. And later this year, we actually have one on Google ads as well with Julia. So thank you so much. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to Julia, and any questions you have throughout the presentation, put them right in the chat. We will either get to them then if there's a pause or at the end. Thank you so much, and I'm very excited.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Elena. I'm delighted to be here with you all. My name is Julia Scott. My agency is J Scott Marketing. We've partnered with the Rhode Island Small Business Development Center for 8 or 9 years now. It's a long time. I should really count because it's been a fantastic partnership. And we're so delighted to be sharing about setting budgets for your Facebook and Instagram ads. We get a lot of questions about this too, and people are just not really sure how to set their budget. So in about 45 minutes, we'll give you an overview of really how to make strategic decisions around your meta ad budget. And this is both for B2C and B2B businesses. We have some examples that are for one and the both, but hopefully you'll be able to take away what you need. And our approach comes from me and my team members, 25 plus years of digital marketing experience, 10 years of running my digital marketing agency, running paid and organic social media campaigns for clients and small businesses just like yours. Social media is actually just a small part of what we do as a marketing agency, so you can check out our website for more or email me for info, and I'll just paste my contact information in the chat, and we'll talk a little bit about that at the end. So the overall message I want you to take away is good marketing is based in data, and data drives decisions. So if you're not basing your decisions on data, you're kind of guessing. And that's not the strategy that we want our business community to be relying on. So full disclosure before we get into the nuts and bolts, on my team, I set the strategy. My paid ads expert manages the ads day to day. So if there's a question that I'm not able to answer, I'll check in with them and get back to you. We also have an offer just to thank you for carving out this time in your busy day. We know you have so much to do and so many hats, so stay on until the end to get more information about that. So when you think of your social media ad budget, have you ever asked yourself, how much should I spend? What's a good daily budget? Do small budgets even work? And when should I increase my budget? So if you are asking those questions, you're in the right place. Hang tight with us. Turn on your video if you can. We're going to break down these 4 items for you. There's a lot of terminology. I'm trying to use plain English as much as I can, but if I'm using a word that you don't understand, type it into the chat. Elena's going to help me, get your questions, timely questions in there. If something is a timely question, we'll address it right away. Other questions we'll save towards the end. We're hoping to have at least 15 minutes of Q&A. So hopefully it's going to be fairly fast paced. There's a lot to cover. When my team and I started building these slides, we're like, wow, this is a lot. So feel free to ask questions. And my goal is really, as I said, for you to be able to get a better understanding of what it takes to manage ad budgets, not to necessarily master the ins and outs of meta campaigns, it's a very complex platform and process. So it's more of a strategic conversation than like a day-to-day like training. Okay, let's dive in. So first of all, why would you think about investing in your Facebook and Instagram ads? Oh, there's an awesome poll that it's popping up. If you can take it, that would be really helpful for us. It does help us make sure that the trainings we're offering are the most relevant to your business. So please take the polls if you can. We'll have a couple polls specific to meta ads as well. So lots of polls today. So when you put some of your ad budget towards Facebook and Instagram, also known as Meta, you're reaching a lot of people, right? There's 6 billion people alone on Facebook. Pretty much everybody is on Meta. You can have really advanced targeting, reaching specifically the people you want based on geography, demographics, interests, really, really very granular you can get. It works both for local businesses and service-based businesses, and it's scalable for almost any budgets. There are some limits where you have to have a minimum daily budget, but we're pretty sure everybody on this call can hit those minimum budgets. Meta is really happy to take your money, so they set the minimums very low. And Meta ads are really great for both brand awareness, generating leads for your business, and also what we call conversions or making a sale. You're converting someone from just a casual web browser or maybe a fan into an actual customer where they're paying you for your product or service. Okay, we're going to talk mostly about ads for lead generation and conversions or sales today. All right, let's keep moving. So our first little poll here, oops, sorry, scrolling back and forth with the mouse. Type into the chat, what do you currently use Meta ads for? A, brand awareness, B, lead gen, C, directly for conversions or sales, or if you have not run Meta ads, I would love to know that too. So I'll just give you about 30 seconds to do that, and I'll keep time for us. Jenny and Robert both saying D. They haven't run ads. Sarah uses it for lead gen. Let's see, what else are other people doing? Oh, Cavell's done all three. Awesome. Mike's also has not run Meta ads. Okay, Kate hasn't run. Okay, so it sounds like a couple of folks have not run any Meta ads. Okay, so this is going to be a great place to start, and some of it may be over your heads, but hopefully you'll take away what you need to get started. New patient recruitment. Okay, fantastic. All right, let's keep going. So these are some of the key factors in setting your ad budget. The first one I want to talk about is your audience size and your targeting. This is a really big one, so I'm going to break it down. So you're going to, just so we're all on the same page, to define targeting and audience. So targeting is the geographic region, the interests of the people you want to reach, and their demographic characteristics. The audience is the pool of meta users produced from that targeting. So you use targeting to create an audience that has those characteristics or statistics associated with them. Okay, so when your audience is really small, then your cost is going to be higher for leads or sales. So if you are creating your audience in Meta and it will tell you like this audience is a little too small. There's actually like one of those charts with a needle indicating. It'll give you whether you're in the green or the orange or the red. If your audience is big, generally your lead cost will be lower. So just some overall guidelines to keep in mind. And when you type in your budget, Meta will estimate how many people you're going to reach. And so from there, you can work backwards to estimate your ROI. I'm gonna give you some concrete examples on the next slide. And then location targeting, you can target a city or an area with a mile radius around that location. Okay, so if you're already feeling like, oh my God, this is too frustrating, I'm gonna have to learn all these answers, this is already like not making sense, just hang in there. Try to stay in that uncomfortable zone. I really want to give you guys kudos for being brave to learn about something totally new and pretty complex like meta ads. So if at the end you still feel like, I just want to cry, I hope that's not how you feel, but it may be time to find a marketing partner to partner with so you don't. I feel that way about my bookkeeping. Bookkeeping makes me cry. I love my bookkeeper. It's a great relationship. Okay. So let's talk about those examples where you type in your budget, Meta says, this is how many people you're going to reach. So this is an example of how you can work backwards to calculate how many new customers you might generate. So this is for lead generation if you're running meta ads for lead generation. So say you type in your budget and Meta says, okay, you're going to reach 100,000 users. You can estimate about 2.5% of the users who see your ad are going to click on it. So from an ad that was going to reach 100,000 users, you would get 2,500 clicks. From there, you can estimate that, let me just scroll down in my notes. And 2.5% is actually a pretty high click-through rate. The standard click-through rate is 0.9%, so less than 1% is the standard click-through rate. So 2.5% assumes that you're either working with a team that really knows what they're doing, or you've like really figured it out. You've optimized it a bit. So starting, if you get lower than 2.5 click-through rate at the beginning, that's okay. You're going to learn, you're going to optimize it. Okay, so for lead gen, from those 2,500 clicks, you can estimate between 5 and 13% of people will actually fill out your lead gen form. So not everybody who clicks on the form actually fills it out. So from 2,500 clicks, you're going to generate maybe 125 to 325 leads. Of those leads, we can estimate about 10% will convert into customers. So actually, if you want to take a screenshot of this slide so you can remember the percentages conversion, sort of like compare your own results, you might want to do that. So from this process, you might get 12 to 32 new customers roughly. This is for optimized ad campaigns. So when you're in your meta ads interface, you can say, well, how much would it cost if I want to get between 12 and 32 new customers? How much would it cost to show my ads to 100,000 people? And then you can work backwards to say, okay, if this is what it's going to cost, how much of these new customers work for me? And then you can adjust for all these different factors, but this helps you hopefully work backwards. And then you can look at what is the cost of customer acquisition or lead cost, and evaluate that against the cost of the value of the sale, which we're going to talk about a little bit more. Any questions about this slide? I know this slide is maybe a little complicated, so just wanted to gentle pause if anybody has a question to get up to make sure they're staying with us.
There's none in the chat, but if you do have one, you can come off mute.
Okay, let's keep going. So here's a very similar example, but for e-commerce sales. So you're directly selling something through your meta ads. So let's look at this hypothetical example of your audience size. So again, you type in your meta ad budget, Meta estimates you'll reach 100,000 users. You can estimate about a 1.5 to 2% click-through rates for e-commerce ads, which means you'll get about 1,500 to 2,000 clicks on the actual ad from the people who see it, right? Your reach is how many people, reach or impressions, like how many people have actually seen it. Then from e-commerce, we can estimate about 3% of the people who click on the ad are actually going to make a purchase. So from your reach of 100,000 users, you're going to get between 45 and 60 sales. So again, that same question of, well, how much does it cost for you to reach 100,000 users? And do you need to make adjustments depending on the actual click-through rates, the actual conversion rate, et cetera, that your team is producing? And then from those data points, you can work backwards to figure out how many sales you want to get each month, but also what's the cost of customer acquisition cost, CAC, CAC, customer acquisition cost. So there's, like I said in the beginning, there's a lot of data. We love marketing based on data, and it will help you really inform whether meta ads are worth it for you and what conversion point, what percentages you need to get at each step of those conversion opportunities to make it profitable for your business. So, okay, let's talk about your business goal and objective, because that is also really going to impact how much your meta ads cost and that eventual ROI that you get from it that we just worked through. So, are we targeting leads or conversion and slash sales or awareness? So the objective is going to impact how many people we can reach on any given budget. And from the last slide, we know that reach is at the top of that pyramid. So how many people we reach at the top impacts that final lead gen customers or sales. So optimizing for your objective that's right for your business really depends business to business, and it might change. So for example, if we want to generate at least 10 leads per week, we're going to optimize the campaign for leads in the beginning. And then once we're happy with how many leads we're getting, we're going to optimize for conversions, or, how do we increase the quality of the leads so that we're able to convert more? And we optimize by, making adjustments to the audience, changing the creatives. Creatives is a reference to the actual images or visuals, video, user-generated content, the words. That's all what we call as the creative. So you might need to refresh the creatives or change. Maybe a certain visual is just not performing well. You're not sure why, but you're like, this one is tanking. We need a new picture or a new video. You could be inviting new audiences. Also, you could optimize the lead form. So it's a pretty dynamic process. And if you're B2C and your goal is sales, you're going to optimize for sales in the beginning and then test creatives and audiences or targeting.
Julia,
Okay.
really quickly, do you mind? I don't know if everyone knows, but just explaining B2C and B2B. Just
Oh, yes. Okay. So B2B is business to business, means your business sells to other businesses, like my marketing agency sells marketing services to other businesses. B2C would be you sell to consumers. So maybe you're a restaurant, you're a retailer, your service is going into people's homes and helping them with like winter sealing. The temperatures start to cool off. So maybe people are thinking about my windows are so leaky. So B2C is selling to consumers. Thanks, Elena. Yeah. All right, we have our second poll. We're curious, what is most frustrating to you about Meta ads? So, A, is it the technical setup? Maybe you just got mired in setting up your Meta pixel or something like that, not knowing what to promote in the ad. That's B. C, understanding ROI or results, or D, something else. And I know a lot of you haven't run Meta ads, so just maybe try to guess, oh, whether to choose Facebook or Instagram. That's a great one. Thank you, Robert. Um, Maybe some of you guys have something else, but I am curious if your frustration is something that's prevented you from running meta ads. For those folks who haven't yet done meta ads, help us understand maybe why you haven't tread these waters before. Okay, Deb says C, understanding ROI results. Sarah says they stopped running meta ads when targeting got harder and more limited, right? You're probably talking about some of the changes in data reporting and people opting out of more specific targeting information. It is intimidating, Jenny. I hear you. It is intimidating. Cavell says optimizing ad and the number of phishing. Okay, so maybe that's like C, ROI results a little bit. D, okay, Mark hasn't observed any sales of his books from social media. Okay, and another C. Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for that input. That's really valuable for us. All right. So another key factor in determining your meta ad budget is the duration of the campaign. So Black Friday is coming up. If there's any retailers on the call, you're probably thinking about running a promotion to promote your big Black Friday Cyber Monday offer. You can expect to pay significantly higher rates compared to the rest of the year because unfortunately everyone else is advertising too. And Meta is an auction system. And so you're going to be competing with a lot more people compared to the rest of the year. That's not always true with short-lived campaigns, but for this particular one that is a mecca for meta ads, you're going to see high rates. If you're running medium length campaigns, again, do the math backwards like we did at the beginning of the presentation from the final outcome that you want, and that will help you determine the ad budget. Then for ongoing campaigns, you really have to continue to monitor the ROI, the return on your investment, the results, and then optimize. So at some point, you're going to run into ad fatigue, and you'll have to refresh something. So ad fatigue is something that's a term for just saying people are tired of seeing your ads. So one way to identify ad fatigue is look for an increasing frequency score. Frequency is how often one person sees your ad. Normally the frequency is like 2 or 3 times. So one person might be seeing your ad 2 or 3 times. If it's getting, 5, 6, 7 frequency, it's probably too frequent. And at the same time as the frequency score is going up, you'll see a declining, declining click-through rate, declining engagement, declining return on ad spend, ROAS, which is one of my favorite metrics. So people are just getting tired of that particular ad, so it's time to refresh or repackage that. Okay, let's keep going. Another factor in your meta ads is your offer's price point and margin. So in general, we recommend you wanting to get a 4 times your ROAS. So if you spend $100 in meta ads, ideally you're getting $400 in sales. You're not necessarily going to get 4x ROAS from the very start. You might get 1 or 2 ROAS, and that's a good starting point. And then as you optimize it, you want to see that ROAS increase. So again, ROAS is return on ad spend, and that is the ultimate metric of success because, excuse me, if your ads, whether they're Meta or Google Ads or some other platform, if your ads are making a 4x or more ROAS, that's really strong. You're definitely profitable in that sense. So the other way to look at your at this one is How valuable is your customer to you? So if your customer is worth $100, you don't want to spend more than $25 acquiring that customer because that would generate a 4x ROAS. So if you spend $25 acquiring the customer, getting that customer acquisition or sale down, they're going to spend $100. That would be a 4x ROAS. But if a customer's worth $10,000 to you, well, that you can really plan on spending more to acquire that customer. So side note, another data point that I love is when you're thinking about your customer value, a lot of people just go for, well, what's my average order value? Or they look at all their sales, they divide by how many customers they had, and they say that's my average order value. But for most businesses, there's retention. People come back, especially if you're B2C. Your customer might buy from you every month, every week, maybe 3 or 4 times a year. So you want to calculate your customer lifetime value. How much does your customer spend over the months or years that they're a customer of yours? So that's the better way to think about customer value compared to just, well, the average purchase is, $250. So again, good marketing is based in data, and we want the data to drive the decisions. Otherwise, we're sort of guessing on like, well, I like the green one, or I like this picture better. Like chances are you're not your customer, and your decisions are very biased. And so you really want to be not guessing with your company's revenue, but making decisions based on data. And we've seen so many times where ads with really strong click-through rates don't necessarily generate the most ROAS, the total sales. And it's kind of shocking, but sometimes ads with really poor click-through rates generate the most sales. Okay, so more specifically, if you're a service business, then we recommend spending about 15 to 20% of the service value to acquire that customer or that lead. And then if it's e-commerce, you can expect to spend 50 to 80% of the product value, because for e-commerce, the customer value is much higher than that initial purchase because of retention. So if your business is a little different, remember these are general guidelines. Maybe your B2C, you sell to consumers, but the retention rate is very low because of the nature of your product. It could also be that your retention rate is low because maybe, there's other things that you could optimize in your business and you could get that retention number up. Oh, Michael had a question about recording. Thank you so much for that feedback already. We appreciate that you're taking away some really good ideas. And yes, it is being recorded, and I believe Elena is sending out the recording afterwards. Okay, let's keep going. So there's also the aspect of your when an ad is first launched, right? So there's this testing phase that happens. So in Meta, it's called a learning phase. Oh, Elena says the video is going to be uploaded to our YouTube channel. Yay! Thank you, Elena. So when you first launch your Meta ad, it goes into learning phase, and that's the initial period after an ad starts running. The Meta algorithm is testing audiences and where the ad shows up, and testing bidding strategies to find the most effective and best way for your campaign to be successful, to reach its goals. Because Meta knows that if your campaign is not successful, you're not going to keep spending money with them. And this usually is about a week long. If your campaign is very successful, you'll likely continue it or, increase the budget in some way. So once you're out of the learning phase, you're free to optimize your ad, monitor the data. Keep in mind that if you make significant changes to the ad, it could boot it back to the learning phase, which we don't really want to do. Scaling ads is pretty technical. So here are some indicators of when you're ready to scale your ads, and we'll talk a little bit about that more. So if your ad is meeting or beating your ROAS target, and again, start with 1 to 2x ROAS. It can increase over time as you optimize. But if you're feeling like, wow, we just launched this and we're already at 1.5 ROAS, like that's a good sign. If the lead cost or the sale cost is profitable, and again, you'll have to do that math with what is the profitability on your sale or your lead. And then also another factor is if you have about 3 to 7 days of stable results, that's a good time to think about increasing your ad budget. And you haven't hit ad fatigue, right? So people are still really engaging with the ad. The metrics are really strong and going in the right direction. So there's a more technical note. So scaling ads is really technical. But if you're getting the leads or sales at a cost that you're comfortable with, sometimes when you increase your budget, like one obvious strategy might be like, wow, this ad's performing really well. Let's double the budget. Sometimes you just end up paying a lot more for that lead or that sale. You might not actually double the ROI or the ROAS when you double the budget. Unfortunately, we've seen this happen. So the way we recommend you scale is to identify which campaign is performing the best, and then sort of replicate that. Think of like, how can I take this golden nugget and sort of make like a sister version of it or like a cousin version of it that's like really similar but has differences and is actually a new campaign. So what we recommend you do is basically start a new campaign. So you have your winning campaign over here. Instead of just saying, okay, that's winning, we're going to double the budget, actually start a new campaign over here. Maybe the audience is slightly different. Maybe the creative is a similar theme or tone or the way it's styled or the depictions in the artwork. If it's a video, make another video or use other video assets, sort of replicate it without directly copying it. And then you can do some A/B testing and see if this like sister version of your initial campaign is as successful. Excuse me. Is that all making sense? Does anybody have any questions? We can just pause gently. I don't know if Elena, you want to pop another poll into the chat.
I was just
So
gonna say I'll
I
do
just
that.
have a quick question.
Sure.
Um, so we sell alcohol and we have a winery and a cidery. And I keep running into the issue, especially with Google Ads, about alcohol. The other thing is, with the laws in the state of Rhode Island, we are not allowed to sell our product online. So I'm wondering, how can I get enough data to let me know if my ads are working? Because
Yeah,
it's not going to be sales.
that's a really
And
great question.
yeah, and people coming to the tasting room don't necessarily say, oh, I saw it on Facebook.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much for that question, Deb. Alcohol is a really tricky area because there is more scrutiny around ads that are selling alcohol. You have to be really, really careful never to have the audience age go below 21. You'll get like
Right,
really
right.
trouble if you do that, which I'm sure you've already
Yeah,
recognized. And you can't sell directly. So
no,
my recommendation would be to run ads for awareness or to drive traffic to an in-person event. I'm guessing you have
yeah,
tastings or music or like
yeah,
socials, maybe special caterers come in. So since you can't sell online anyways, you really just want to generate foot traffic. Another thing you could do is create events in Facebook and then boost those events, because that gives you extra traction
okay,
here.
yep,
Julia's going to the event, and because Julia and Elena are Facebook friends, Elena gets a notification that says Julia's going to this fun event at the winery. Maybe you should go too. So that's
okay,
a good way to focus on those ads because you really are limited, and you don't want to run afoul of trying to sell alcohol online. Yeah,
no.
does that help?
Thank you for that answer.
Okay, great. And it looks like most folks have taken the poll, and Elena and I talk about this. When is the best time? And it's always like there's no clear answer, and so that is kind of reconfirmed, except for after hours. That doesn't seem to be as optimal of a time.
Yeah, it's tough. Can't please everyone.
You can't. But thank you so much for weighing in and sharing that information. Okay, let's keep going. So let's just pause and think about the structure. So you may run into some of this terminology when you're running ads or working with a team. So the campaign is the top level. Like say you're like, okay, this is our Black Friday Cyber Monday campaign. Within that campaign, that initiative, we're going to have two different ad sets. One is going to be video and one is going to be still photography, or one ad set could be, we're going to test our 15% offer with our like bonus. Maybe you're like also getting a set of steak knives with any $50 purchase. Like we're not sure which offer. So you could be testing offers, you could be testing visuals. And then within those ad sets, you might have multiple ads running to further refine and test. And when you are doing testing, to have clean data, you can really only have one difference in the ad, because if you change the photo and the message, there's no real way to determine, well, was this ad more successful because of the photo or because of the message? So you really just have to be very disciplined. Excuse me, I think it's time for my cough drop. And just test one thing in your ad. Deb, it looks like you have a question in the chat from Mike. He has an idea for you, so feel free to chat with him about that. Thank you, Mike. Okay, let's keep going. This is a question we get often too, like, well, should I even advertise on Meta? Like, I don't have that much money. So if you have less than $4 a day, you may not be able to run ads because Facebook has a daily minimum budget of $3.50 in the US. So if you don't have $4 a day times 30, that's like $120. So if $120 feels like too much, then wait until your business is growing more and you have more cash flow, and you can say you can do that comfortably. Generally, when we're working with a client team, we recommend budgets of $10 or more per day. Really, $300 is kind of like a bare minimum. When you're working with a marketing agency, you really want to have higher budgets. So if you're between $4 and $9 a day, or even, you know, 4 and up, and you're doing it yourself or you're doing it in-house, you can still run any type of campaign and be successful. You may also want to consider a boosting content or a boosted post, which is, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail, but let me just read my notes real quick. Okay. So boosting is, let's go to the next slide and explain boosting so everyone's on the same page. Boosting is sort of a really like easy way to get into paid Meta ads or paid Meta content. It's not an ad, it's a boost, and gain wider visibility for one piece of content that you're promoting. There's less customization, so you know, less bells and whistles, less targeting features, but it's just easier to get started. It's like a simpler version of your Meta ads. You can be effective with just $50 per month. So if you're under that $4 per day, and whether you're promoting event like Deb might be, or promoting a really popular piece of content that's performing well, you can use that lower budget, and you can optimize your boost for gaining followers, getting likes, comments, even leads through DM. Those are all options. We often run boosting. We'll boost content sort of in tandem or simultaneously while we're running ad campaigns with significantly bigger budget, and still see really nice performance on both of them. So they'll have different objectives or different goals for the boosted content versus the paid ads, but they can still be really successful. And if you're wondering, like, well, what should I boost? This sounds like a great way to just get started without all the complexity of Meta ads. You'll notice in your business page, Meta makes it very easy for you to boost content. Every single post will say, do you want to boost this? And you can just say yes and add your credit card information. And as I said earlier, Meta is very happy. It makes it very easy to take your money. So one way to think about, well, what should I boost, is to look at what content is performing really well and then boost that. And that's a good strategy, because if people are liking that content organically, just without any money behind it, it's probably going to do really well when you show it to other people. So if you're not sure what to boost, think about what is your like top 3 most popular updates in the past month, and boost one of those. Or sometimes you're saying, well, this piece of content wasn't really popular, but I really need to get the message out that we've changed our hours. I need people to get this information because we don't want our customers to come by on Sunday when we're now closed and be really annoyed at us. So we're going to pay to get that information out. So sometimes there's really good reasons that you would boost something that's not very popular. Does anybody have any questions about boosting before we move on?
Mike is shaking his head that he does.
Yeah, sorry, I was looking for the mute button. You know, in talking with other people, I'm into photography, and talking with other photographers, they've always said that once you start boosting posts, your organic shares go down because they feel like once they start paying to play, that they're almost punished a little if they don't continue to pay to play. Is there any truth to that?
That's really interesting. We've actually seen the opposite. We've seen that when you're boosting your content and running ads, Meta sees a lot more people engaging with your page, and that impacts the algorithm to show your content more often because it's like, oh, all of a sudden this business is very popular. So I'm not sure if that's changed recently, but typically you see like your organic content get more visibility when you have paid campaigns running.
Right. I haven't started doing any paid stuff, but I started treating social media as like a real business, like a real job with a strategy and organization behind it. And I've gotten several messages from Facebook in the last couple of weeks saying, hey, your content is good. We're going to be increasing your reach, which I assume is a good thing.
Wow.
Increasing your reach is a good thing. Yeah. Thank you for the question, Mike. We have a fun new poll about the training format. We're very curious whether people want to be in person or online. So thank you. Looks like most people have taken that poll. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And
And
then Sarah had a question in the chat about boosting versus highlight or at everyone.
yeah, thank you so much for that question, Sarah, and thanks for bringing it to my attention, Elena. So love this question. So when you do the highlight everyone, then anybody who is following your page gets a notification. So this can be a really great way to get people's eyes on your content with no dollar spent. It does require people to check their notifications, and not everybody does that, but they will see that notification. That you've been tagged in this post by such and such business. So that is one way to get a little visibility. Yeah.
I personally would like to speak on that because
Yeah.
whenever I'm getting highlighted, I find it's like too generic. Like I don't think it's like considerate of me personally, like when I'm following a
Right.
business page. So I don't necessarily love highlighting, but that's my opinion. Again, like subjective. That's just how I personally feel about it.
Hmm.
I kind of agree with that. I just say, well, they're not looking at me personally or my business. I just happen to be a follower. So this content really isn't even about me. And I just move on.
Yes, exactly. That's how I feel as well.
Yeah.
Mhm. I
Cabela, I
just
can't tell if you're
thrown in a bucket.
Yes.
Cabela, are you raising your hand? I can't quite tell if you're just stretching your fingers or okay, you're not. I wanted to make sure you were getting some airtime if you wanted it. One other
No,
note
I
about
use my hand a lot. I'm very creative with my
okay.
hand, so ignore me.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to go back to one note on the question about what budget is too low. So Meta does need a volume of data to optimize your ad. So if your budget is too low, Meta isn't going to have enough data to optimize your ads to improve the performance. So just keep in mind that if you plug in your budget and you see that that arrow pointing and it says like this audience is too small, it's probably not worth it to spend the money. Just wait till you have a little bit more cash to spend. Okay, so how do you actually get started? So you're gonna have to set up Meta Business Manager and you'll add an asset. There's definitely, this is like the what I think is the worst part of Meta ads, but once you do it, it's done and you don't have to do it again. You have to add an asset to your business manager account, which is your business page, or it could be an Instagram account. Then you're gonna create an ad account, or if there already is one, you need to gain access to that. And then if you're driving traffic to your website, or you're doing anything with your website visitors, you want to set up your Metapixel. And I do recommend setting up the Metapixel because you can create audiences based on website traffic. So the Metapixel is a way that Facebook and Meta can basically talk to and gather information about people who are visiting your website. So you can assume that if people have visited your website, they have some base familiarity and interest in your business. And so you may want to retarget, like show them ads again on Meta because they have been to your website. That's called a retargeting audience. You're like revisiting or retargeting that audience. So I do recommend setting up the Metapixel and going through these other steps. It's kind of a pain in the neck. You may want to pull your hair out or, send me some harsh words, but once it's done, it's done. And there are people that can help you set it up, and there's lots of like tutorial videos and things like that. And then you can start with a test budget of just, like $5 to $50 a day. And then once you're out of learning phase, you can really see how the ads perform. All right, so how do you know if your ads are performing well? So this is definitely something that you cannot set it and forget it. You really have to monitor at least on a weekly basis. If you're spending hundreds of dollars a day, you probably want to check in every single day. And at that point, you probably have like a dedicated ad manager, either in-house or a partner. And as I said, target 1 or 2x ROAS. So if you're spending $100 a month, hopefully you're seeing sales of at least $100 or $200 a month. In later stages, you can aim for 4x ROAS. We also have clients where the ROAS is like 100 or 200 because their product is so high value that, we have optimized the ads for less than $100 per lead, and they have a great closing rate because their sales team is on point, and they're selling, the pretty big services. So for tracking your ROI performance, you're going to use your Meta Ads Manager. The metrics that you want to watch are impressions. So how many times was your ad shown? The clicks, how many total clicks did you get on? Also the click-through rate as a percentage. So what percentage of people who saw the ads actually clicked on it? This is a major indicator of, is the ad interesting and engaging? Is it relevant? If your click-through rate is lower than 0.9%, you are definitely needing some help in that area. Our clients typically see click-through rates of at least 4% because we're really good at what we do. But just use that as a barometer. And then your cost per lead, if you're a business that collects leads. Customer acquisition cost, we talked about that a bit earlier. This is if it's like a e-commerce sales campaign, you want to think about how much does it cost to acquire that customer, and really if you're B2C as well. But you want to be thinking about what that cost is, because that's very relevant to what do people spend both in their initial purchase and over the life of the investment, or the life of their customer. And then ROAS, I put that in bold because it's my favorite. As I said, it's return on your ad spend. So again, if you're spending $100 in ads, you'd want to see ideally $400 in sales or significantly higher. Okay, we got a couple more slides and then we're going to open it up to questions. So some best practices to wrap us up here. You're going to want to test different creatives. Those are the visuals and messaging that goes, the words that go in the ads, the audiences, which is created based on the targeting. So maybe one part of Rhode Island or New England, if you sell more broadly, or United States is more lucrative than another audience. There could be some geographic seasonality there. So you want to have different data in different audiences based on geography or based on other factors. Your messaging and your offer. So the offer is, sometimes your offer might be like, book by this date and get $250 in extra services, or, free shipping if you purchase this one item, or, you can have different offers. Sometimes it's just there is no direct offer. Maybe it's a free consultation. If you're B2B, it can be a lot of different things, but if the offers are most relevant for lead generation campaigns, because you're asking people for their personal information. So what are you offering them in return? We talked about avoid pouring more money into winning ads. It's better to create a new ad set and create like a sort of sister version, a very similar version to that winning ad. And then really being patient. Once you start your ad, you really need to wait about a week before making any changes. So good ads do take time. There's a lot of optimizations that are possible. And when you make those optimizations, then you have to wait and let it run. So patience is important here. If you have a really low budget, so don't try to do too much with a small ad budget. Focus on one particular offer or a certain stage of your funnel. So when you think about your marketing funnel, you think of like people at the top, like you just want them to be aware your business exists. And then you want to sort of build a relationship with them in the middle of the funnel, sort of nurture them, indoctrinate them into your business values. And then at the bottom of the funnel, you have the conversion, like, hey, let's actually become, become customers. Like, we want you to become our customer. Here's the way to convert and buy something from us. You can leverage organic and paid together. So Mike, that's to your point, and get more organic reach when you're paying Meta Ad to show your content. Another great strategy if you have a really low ad budget is to retarget with what we call a warm audience. So people who've been to your website, we would consider that a warm audience. They have some familiarity with your business. They've, seen your website. They're slightly warm compared to someone that's a cold audience that's never heard of your business, has no idea who you are, what you do. So that could be the website traffic or followers of that social media page, or friends of followers can also be a good one. We have some tools to help you plan. You might want to take a screenshot of this, and hopefully you've been taking screenshots all along. But again, Elena will post it to YouTube if you want to recap and spend more time with us. So your Facebook ad library, just in the interest of time, I'm not going to read all these, but do take a screenshot if you would like. And then we have one more poll for you. I'm very curious now that we've dove in a bit, how ready you feel to run meta ads. We really are curious. Elena and I were, discussing a lot of different business ideas or webinar ideas. And, we're sort of like, well, should we do a follow-up or not? So do people feel ready to run meta ads? A, not ready at all. Oh, good. Okay. So Catherine feels like she's ready to try. C is like, you're 100% ready. Yes, Cavell. Awesome. That's super. Deb has run ads, so she's ready. Okay. And maybe something else if there's something else blocking. Okay. Steve is ready. Okay. Michael is already doing it. That's fantastic. Okay. Super. And if you haven't already finished, okay. Oh, so reluctant to pay Meta. Yeah, I hear you. So as a thank you, you're definitely not the first one who's told me that.
It's for sure.
Yeah.
We're all held hostage.
Yeah, thanks, Deb. Thanks for weighing in. So we really appreciate your time. We wanted to offer you a complimentary strategy session. This is not a sales call. It really is just to thank you for making time for marketing, because most of our clients really don't like marketing. And so you all have spent time talking about marketing with us. We really appreciate that. Happy to answer any questions you have. Sometimes there's like more detailed or sensitive questions that you don't want to ask in a webinar, but we're happy to take some time and give you 30 minutes of our time. And so thank you so much. We have 13 minutes for questions. And Elena,